YouTube people, what's up? It's Dustin, and I'm back with another video. This one's going to be a little bit different. It's a story time. I wanted to do a story time for a long time now, and I was talking to my friend Tara. Her and I are really good friends. We've been friends since grade school. We grew up together. Her and I are very much alike. And this story really centers around the paranormal. Her and I really experienced a lot of stuff together, and I thought I'd share it. Before I really get into it, I do want to give you a little bit of background about my friend Tara and myself. Her and I, like, growing up, we always could feel stuff. We could tell things before they happened. Like, there was many instances when I was growing up, I'd tell my mom things before they'd happen. Tara's the same way, and her dad was even that way. Really creepy. Also saw stuff growing up, like shadow people, and just weird shit would happen when I was a kid. My mom always said it was a poltergeist. I guess that's because that was the era that we grew up in. Well, not really the era I grew up in, but that's something she was familiar with. But yeah, there was a lot of times that when I was a kid that freaky stuff would happen and there was no real explanation to. And Tara had much of that as well. Her and I met in the 6th grade. I knew her dad. She didn't know who I was, but I knew who she was because she was like a family friend. Well, her dad was, rather. Anyway, just thought I'd give you a little bit of background about Tara before I really get into this story. So this took place around late 2006, early 2007. I know that because that's when my MySpace was popular, and Jeffree Star, shout out to Jeffree Star, I love you, fuck all those haters, was very popular, and it was when Chris Crocker made his Britney Spears video that he's so famous for. So I know that's the time here that I'm talking about here. So to set the stage, Tara and I, we had this friend named Marky, and he lived in Shelby, North Carolina, which is like a desolate place. There's really nothing there but like cornfields and nothing. They have like a Walmart. But he lived out in the middle of nowhere in a huge ass house. And so every week, me and Tara would go spend 2 or 3 nights with Marky when I didn't have to work. And one night we were just shooting the shit, playing around, and Marky had a Ouija board. No, let me back up. We bought the Ouija board because Marky insisted that we buy it, because I remember going to Toys R Us and buying it. I forgot about that. It's funny how you remember stuff when you start to tell a story. So me and Tara bought this Ouija board, and we decided one night we were going to play with it. Like, we finally got up the courage to play with it. I had played with one previously to this, and it scared the shit out of me. And Tara never would touch it. And it was right around the time that her dad passed away, and I really shouldn't have, like, insisted, but I ended up talking her into it. So her, Marky, and myself were all playing with this Ouija board, and nothing really happens at first, and we start talking amongst each other, and Marky starts cursing at the Ouija board, and the thing starts to move, and it starts to circle, which is really weird. Like, if you see that in a movie, they say it's like something coming through. So we start talking to it, and it tells us that the person that used to live on this land where his house was built, mind you, this is a really big house out in the middle of nowhere, that he was a slave, and that he used to live in a house that was on this land. And it starts changing its story. It changes its name, and then it starts telling us its name, I believe, and it said it was like Pazuzu or something like that. I really, like, ooh, I get the chills even talking about this, what happens next. So we start talking to this thing, and Marky's like still cursing at it, trying to get a rise, like, and I forget what we asked. We asked if how Marky's gonna die. And it says Marky's going to die in a house fire, which creeped us all the fuck out. And after that, it tells us to start looking for something. I can't remember what that something was supposed to be, but I remember we looked outside in the pitch black, and then found nothing. We looked around his house, found nothing. So then we went back to playing with the Ouija board, and we're playing whatever, and then we start hearing stuff. We hear like a scream. There was no one around. Then we hear something that goes like like a big slam on the floor, and it sounds like either a really large chest or a body is being dragged across the floor. Mind you, Marky did not have any animals. We went and looked. There was nothing out of place. Nothing really could explain why we heard what we heard. And it scared the shit out of all of us. So we were like, fuck this shit. We're done with it. We're not messing with this anymore. And we just go to sleep. Well, the next day we wake up and Marky, like, there was pictures throughout his whole house. And every picture that had him in it, him and his boyfriend, him and his family members, any picture that had Marky in it was turned sideways to the right. And it had a crack right across his face on every single picture. I shit you not. I promise. And that really freaked us all out. And like, this is something that like still gives me chills to this day. Like, I'm getting chills now talking about it. Like, it's just really creepy shit. And yeah, that's how my Ouija board paranormal experience started, with this instance anyway. But to tack on to that, it was like some months later. It seemed like everything in my life was going bad. Like, I couldn't find a job. I couldn't, like, I still live with my parents, in between living with Tara. And I ended up driving by the mall one day and I seen this sign, little sign, like a little campaign sign that you would see, and it says psychic. Never seen it before, ever in my life. And it's like right across from our mall. And I was at the mall all the time when I was like 18 years old. So I'm like, hey, Tara, do you want to go? So we end up going to the psychic. And she reads my palm. Haven't told her anything about myself, just my name. And she asked me if I had played with the Ouija board, because there was an evil, malevolent spirit that was around me trying to harm me. And it was really, really creepy. And she went on to tell me that if I paid her like $150, that she would light this candle that would be eternal and vanquish the spirit from being around me for the rest of my life. And I was like, absolutely not, lady, you're crazy, I'm not doing that. And I can't remember what happened in Tara's reading, but I think her dad got brought up. I can't really remember the details of that. I'll have to get with her on that. But, yeah, that was really creepy. And then to add on to that, I ended up getting a job across from the mall, like across from where the psychic lady lived and worked. And, I'd seen her on a regular basis, but I know that she didn't remember who I was, because apparently she'd seen so many people. Like, she's booming with business at Sears. She would come in Sears all the time. Well, flash forward maybe from the time period when I had the first psychic reading to like maybe a year later when I got with my boyfriend that I've been with now for almost 9 years. We, for some unknown reason, I decided that, hey, I know a psychic, let's go see her. And she brings the shit up again. And honestly, like, here recently, I feel like a lot of stuff has been going wrong that's out of my control. And I feel like maybe it's kind of the same thing, but I don't know. I'm very spiritual. I do believe in other things existing. I do believe in ghosts. And why does the phone have to ring? But yeah, this is my paranormal experience. I have other paranormal experiences because I've been into this kind of thing for a very, very long time. Me and some other friends, we would go and hang out in, not hang out, but we would ghost hunt in cemeteries. Because I really apologize for the phone. It'll stop in a minute. But ironically enough, where I live at, I live just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. There's a bunch of graveyards that are unmarked, and there's one called Blackstock that's just right inside of Charlotte, where old post office used to be. And prior to that, it was actually a plantation, and there's a unmarked grave for slaves. And it's really, really, really creepy, and there's some stories to be told about that. If you guys would like to hear more stories like this, creepy stories, let me know in the comments. But follow me on Snapchat. I hope you guys have a good evening.